Welcome. Got a really exciting project today. It's another bending video using saw cuts. I've got a beech here that I'm going to be working on, but before I do, let's take a look at the maple that I bent about 6 weeks ago. This is the field maple I was talking about. It was a dead straight trunk, and as you can see, I bent it over and it's doing really well. It's growing on, it's thriving, couldn't be doing better. It's too soon yet to see any sort of callousing or anything, but it appears to have sort of joined together and everything's going nicely, and I expect that to heal over quite well. Obviously, I'll be keeping you up to date with how that maple goes, and when I remove the wire that's pulling it over, I'll definitely document that and show you what's happening. But today, as I say, I'm going to have a go at this beech. It's a real ugly tree, this one, if I'm honest. I think the most interesting part of this tree are these roots that come down and around, as you can see there. That's why I planted it at an angle, to try to expose this, which was the only really interesting thing. Further up the trunk, we've got two cuts that I made, one here, and it is beginning to callus, one up the top here, and this must be an older wound that's already almost closed. So it's pretty, like I say, it's a pretty ugly tree. But there is some taper, but then the taper stops here, so I'm wondering if this could be bent. I think the reason I've chosen this tree to experiment on, obviously, is because it is a mess, and ultimately, if I wasn't going to do this bending work, I think I would end up just cutting the tree quite short next year and hoping that some new branches and form sort of a very low stumpy tree. So if this doesn't work, I've not really lost anything. I can always go back to plan A next year, or plan B. And so this is just an opportunity for me to really have a play and see what happens. I'll be using a fine tooth saw to make the cuts. And I'm going to, as I say, start here and work my way up. So wish me luck. I think I'll need it with this one. Oh, it's moving about a bit in the pot, which is not great. In fact, what I'm going to do is, this is going to disturb it too much. So I'm going to rig something up to hold this securely. So what I've done here is I put a block of wood in my woodworking vise, and I managed to clamp the end of the tree so it's now nice and solid, and I should be able to make these cuts firmly without risking the end just dropping off. I've moved the camera angle so that you can see what I'm doing. I'm just continuing on with that cut. I think that should be deep enough. I want to go about 3/4 of the way through, and I want to do multiple cuts. I'm going to cut just above that. Nice, this is all going well so far. Hopefully they're not famous last words. I'm just sort of feeling underneath to check that I'm not cutting too deep. And as I'm cutting, I'm slightly changing the angle so that I'm moving in towards the point where it's going to hinge. So I'm starting here, and as I come round, I'm moving the saw around this way. Not quite that extreme, but that's kind of the principle I'm going with. So we've got 4 cuts in there now. Now for the 5th. Nice. Let's go for a 6th, because I want this to be quite an extreme bend. I think I did 4 cuts on the maple. So this time I want a few more, because I want, as I say, I want more bend. Without necessarily planning this, I appear to have not only fanned like this with my saw, but I've also come around, which might give it a bit of a twist backwards, which is fine. I'll just try for one more cut up at the top, so I think I can get one more in up there. This is quite extreme bonsai work, but I love this sort of stuff. What the hell, let's do one more at the bottom. This is going to be the last cut. So they're all cut roughly 3/4 of the way through. And before I take it out of the clamp, I want to drill a hole in the bucket or the plant pot to give me something to anchor to. My drill's inside, so I can't be bothered getting it. I'll just cut through like that. It's only got to get a wire through it, that'll do. Now for the real fun bit, the reveal. See what happens when this bends up. So I'm going to ease the vise apart, but before I do, I want to put this wire through. So I've got this already in place. Let's just push the wire through that hole and give it a quick twist. So I've got my anchor point there already sorted, ready to wrap round the tree as I bend this up. Before I do this, if you're enjoying this video and you'd like to see the progress of this tree, don't forget to hit subscribe, and let's go. So I'm backing off now the pressure with the vise. I'll remove that piece of wood. The wood's gone. Now this should hopefully now bend upwards. That's really nice. That's formed a lovely bend. Very nice. I would have liked it to have been more, if I'm honest. It's nice and gentle, but I would have liked a bit more of a severe bend. I don't think I can do any more on it now, unless I did some more chops lower down, but I think for the time being I'll say let's get this wired up. So I'll just tie the wire up around the top of the tree like that. That's holding it really nicely in place. It's quite thick wire this, so that's fine. And that's not going anywhere. I've brought the tree back outside now so you can get a closer look at the cuts. How many is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 cuts. I think that's worked really well. And viewed from the front, you can see where the bark has all been pushed together along here. All I need to do now is cover it in cut paste. There were some people that made a really good point in the last video. in the comments. They said, why didn't you use some kind of tape to hold it together, to stop the cut paste going into these gaps? But to be honest, my maple's done so well, I don't want to change the technique, because it seems to have worked really nicely. You know, it couldn't be more healthy, that tree, so something's worked. And I like the philosophy, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I'm just doing the exact same thing on this tree, just liberally coating it all with plenty of cut paste, like that. Well, that was fun. I had to use a bit of lateral thinking to use the vise, but it'll be interesting again, same as the maple, to see how this gets on, and see how it sort of develops over the coming years. But definitely something I'm more looking forward to now than just that weird sloping tree. So yeah, have a go yourself and let me know how it goes. As always, thanks for joining me. I'll see you soon.